A todos nos maravilla la idea de obtener libertad financiera, pero pocos estamos preparados para soltar el sistema en el que nos hemos acostumbrado a vivir. La verdadera libertad existe para aquellos que están dispuestos a trabajar en hacer que, en cada aspecto de su vida, tengan la libertad de elegir lo que les conviene y no en lo que nos han hecho creer que necesitamos. Acompáñanos a hablar con Didi de Bitcoin Family, una persona que decidió apostarlo todo en Bitcoin hace 5 años y hoy puede decir que él y su familia son realmente libres. All right. Thank you very much, Didi, for being with us here. How are you?
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm doing pretty well. Coming now from Portugal, so it's a beautiful place to stay during the Bitcoin bear winter.
Yeah. How is it there? The temperature, the food, is it all good?
And the temperature is still like 22 degrees. The food is okay. The prices are really nice. There's no restrictions. There's 0% tax on Bitcoin. So it's a beautiful country to be, but it's too cold for me. So that's why we're leaving to Thailand in a couple of weeks.
Okay. And you're gonna go to Thailand how many days? Or
Oh, we're gonna stay there for a couple of months again. We don't plan. We just book like a flight and we see it there again. We just go with the flow, live decentralized, and
oh, that's nice. And you just rent for the time that you're gonna be there, and that's it.
always we never own anything. We only use stuff like houses.
All right. That's pretty cool. All right, Didi. We're gonna divide this into several segments. The first one is your story, right? So tell us about how you stumbled onto Bitcoin and what was your first encounter with crypto.
The first time I heard about crypto is a long time ago. It's like 2013. At that moment, I still was running a few companies in the Netherlands, and there was this guy coming from a school, and he needed to have his internship, and you need to do something. And I had an IT company, so he told me I want to build a Bitcoin miner and show that we can make money with the hashing power of the motherboard and the graphical cards. So I was like, okay, let's give that a try. That's your assignment, so do it. So it took me 2 or 3 days to build the Bitcoin miner because we also had an IT shop over there, and he started to mine bitcoins. At that moment, we just switched from 2000, from 50 to 25 bitcoins per block. So we directly hit a few blocks, and that was a lot of bitcoins. And I'm like, wow. So do you think you can hit more bitcoins if I buy more miners? And he was
Yeah.
like, I think we can. So at that moment, I emptied one of the offices that I had, and then we bought almost for 36,000 euros Bitcoin miners and had them up and running in no time. Of course, with all the heating issues and all the shit that we
Yeah.
went through in that period of time, it was not much knowledge yet. But that's how I learned about Bitcoin. It was for me a revolution that would kill the centralized banking system, it would kill the centralized governments, and at the same time would make me filthy rich. As at that time, I was still the young guy that just wanted to become a millionaire. You're
Yeah.
young, you don't know what you want in life, so you think happiness will come when you be a millionaire. And that's how it all started in 2013. Yeah.
All right. And do you remember how much was a Bitcoin in that moment?
Yeah, when we started mining, Bitcoin was around, it started on 80 to $200. And then, of course, the bull run came, we went all the way up to $1,200. And then in 2014, we also experienced the first crash. We fell down to $200 back. So at that moment, I started to doubt about Bitcoin. I was like, oh shit, man, it's like, how can I break even with my investment? If Bitcoin goes so low again to these prices, they will never succeed, blah, blah, blah. You get all the doubts that you have in your first cycle. So I decided to start to mine Dogecoin at that moment. So we switched to Dogecoin mining. I think in total we mined like almost 26 million Dogecoin.
Wow.
And then Bitcoin, started to go up again, and so you switched to mining again at that moment. But during that period, some stuff, private stuff happened in my life. I lost my father,
Mm.
so I didn't want to spend time behind a desk or a computer or
Yeah.
mining or. So that's why I left and sold everything, the company and everything. And when the new adventure started.
Yeah. But And I know that you went all in into crypto, right?
Yeah.
This is how it all not it, now how it all started, but let's say your new life started whenever you went all in. So I don't know if you want to say something about that moment. How was it? How did you get into that decision where you thought that let's go all in?
So for me, the moment was not purely Bitcoin. For me, the moment was at that moment changing life. I got sick of the hamster wheel life. Working your ass off to pay fucking taxes to a government
The rat
that
race.
only wants to spend the taxes to like the new speedboat of your king. And all that stuff. So I studied higher economics, and at that moment, I just didn't see any positiveness anymore because my father died, my mother died. So I just needed to have a healthy reset and rethink how did I want to do my life? Do I want to continue this
Yeah.
idiot life that I don't want to support, or do you want to change? And we chose to change. So we went on a trip for 3 months, and we started in Thailand. And after 3 months, I recovered myself. I was like, wow, I'm way more happy like this. So I want to continue this lifestyle. I don't want to go back. So we continued that trip for another 5 months, so 7, 8 months in total. And during that trip, this friend of mine called me and he's like, Didi, we were in Bali at that moment. Do you still have your Dogecoins? Do you still have your Bitcoin? Yeah, I have them somewhere, but why? Yeah, the community is growing, the price is going up, the forums, everything. You should look at them. I said, I'm on Bali on the beach. I'm not going to look at anything, man. It's okay. And the evening, he called again and again. And in the end, okay, I just decided let's check what is happening. Let's
Yeah.
check the forums. Let's check why is it growing. And at that moment, something sparked in me like, wow, the revolution is really starting. We are going to take the power back to the people. We're going to, take that whole control that the 1% of the centralized organizations worldwide have over the poor people back. And then at that moment, we were traveling for 8 months. So I was to Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, all poor countries where people don't have bank accounts, where
Yeah.
they are not connected to this monetary system that I saw that we were born into in Europe. That was normal for us.
Yeah.
So when you connect the dots at that moment, you can only decide to want to support that revolution. Let's really go for it. So we were on the beach, and I told my wife, "Hey, what do you think if we just continue their lifestyle? Let's just fly home, sell the house, sell the companies, sell all the furniture, the cars, the motorbikes, all that materialistic stuff that didn't make us happy during the trip. We just had 5 backpacks that made us happy. Why do we need it? Why don't we just continue this, go all into Bitcoin, support this revolution, and let's see, what comes out." And that is what we did. We called a real estate agent. We put the house for sale online. I started to sell my cars online when I still was in Bali. Then we flew to the Netherlands. The house was sold in a couple of weeks. We were living on a campsite. And that was the moment that the media found out. And they flew all over the world to us from the States, from Canada, from Russia. And they came all flying to this family living on a campsite, going all into Bitcoin. And everybody thought I was an idiot, a retarded
Yeah.
person that couldn't think anymore. And at that moment, we kept going all in. We were like, no matter what everybody says, we believe in it. And that's when it started, and that's when it really took off, and the media became too much pressure for us. So we decided to go back to Thailand on a small island to enjoy life there without all the stress and the focus of the media. But it took a week, and we were in an Italian restaurant, and this Russian guy came to me with the telephone. He's like, "Are you this guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, why? You're a Bitcoin god. You're a Bitcoin god to me. Can I make a selfie?" So my kids start laughing. My wife start laughing. I'm like, "Who the fuck wants to make a selfie with me, man?" And he made the selfie. And that selfie went online. And then it took 2 days for the biggest documentary maker of the Germany and France called me and said, "We are coming to fly to Koh Phangan in Thailand, and we're going to make a documentary about what you did with you because this is insane." And that is a moment that my wife and I looked at each other and said, okay, let's just embrace this adventure. People want us to be this Bitcoin family. Let go. Let's see what happens. If we say no, we throw all opportunities on the side. And if we say yes, we can always say no at the end again. So that's how we did it. They came, they filmed a documentary for 6 days with us. It was the best viewed documentary ever for the whole Arte television station. And that is a huge station. And that made us the Bitcoin family. And from there, yeah, now we are like almost 7 years later, still traveling the world without bank accounts, only with cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin, still talking to everyone, converting everything that
Yeah,
we encounter into Bitcoin adoption. And that's, yeah, that's our life now. That's how
yeah.
we feel happy.
And, I didn't know that it was the media who who told you you are the Bitcoin family, right? I thought it was something that you guys like it pushed or something like that. But
No, it was I think it was a news article from Australia, from the Sydney Herald, and they had this Dutch crazy family went all in, and the line below what was this
Dutch
is the
crazy
Bitcoin
family.
family. And from there, they went into Reuters, and then it was copied to CNBC and to all over the place. So yeah, from that moment, because at that we had another name. Our name online was YOLO Family Travel.
YOLO
You
family.
only live once, family travel, because I lost my parents. You only live once, family. That's how we started.
Yeah.
But they just banned, and then this guy called me. He said, "Yes, I took the domain for you, the bitcoinfamily.com." I'm like, okay, so and now you can get it for free. I'm one of your fans. Here's the domain. He gave me a code, and then I could claim the domain, and then the domain was from ours, and that's how it all, yeah, evolved naturally into something, yeah, we could never have expected, of course.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And you mentioned that you say, for example, we as in the family, you guys are taking decisions as a family. But how did you manage the family's anxiety throughout the bird markets and the ups and downs of this new market?
I think the power as a family that we have is, if you call it the power, how do you call it? Like the quality that we have is we don't care about money.
All right.
We don't give a fuck. We are a minimalist family. We are pretty rich, but we don't use it. I still wear the T-shirts that people give me, and we still live in a very simple way. Of course, now and then we rent bigger houses, and we do some cool activities because we have the bitcoins for it.
Okay.
Um, but for us, it was just never fear because we knew that whatever would happen, we could always fall back to our personal talents.
Yeah.
And for me, that could be become an entrepreneur again. And for my wife, that could be becoming a teacher. Or, the quality that you have as a person is like a million times more important than the money,
Yeah.
because the quality makes you make that money at the end. So for us, by losing the fear of losing everything, we were never in this very emotional roller coaster. Of course, you have the emotions when you go to 20K and back to 3K. You have emotions, but it's more like the emotion of excitement. It's like you get into this roller coaster ride, and it goes up and down, but you just love it. It's like, wow, it's
Yeah.
just one big adventure. And because it's not purely profit based, I think that is the reason why we were like, okay, it's all good, it's all good. Even if we have one Bitcoin left in 2025 or 2030, we will be a millionaire again. You believe the deflationary aspect of Bitcoin, you believe that the price will be going up, and you just live the life to the fullest, and you zoom in on every single minute of the life.
Yeah.
You try to enjoy life instead of fearing life. And I think that is the reason why maybe people found our step um, so strange. Because most people take choices out of fear,
Yeah.
not out of passion. They just want to do something because they're afraid to do something else. No, we chose to not fear life anymore, and I think that is what made it more bearable for us to bear the bear markets and the bull runs.
Yeah, and it's the fear of losing things, right? Losing the material, the social class, things like that. But when you are focused on the experiences and enjoying life, you know that you can enjoy life with that money. So you know that with that with that point in your life, you're fearless because you know that money disappearing doesn't mean that you're gonna stop enjoying life. So yeah, I think this is a
It's
pretty, let's say, how can I say this, like this defines you guys, and how did you make that decision, and how was it a correct decision for you guys? Maybe someone else would have done the same, went all in, but the moment that that the market went down, they will sell it, right? Because they were fear, they had fear that they would lose it all and they would lose their future and and uh, their future vision of life. But in your
Yeah,
case, you guys say if we lose it, we're still gonna be able to fall back into our talents, as you said, and just live a normal life as we
live
have been
life,
living
live
until
life.
now.
But it's the 90s that made most of the people very materialistic. You need the buy economy. We need to
Yeah,
buy now
bye bye.
directly. We need to buy a pedal boat. We need to buy a this when you need it now. No,
Yeah,
when you travel, you will meet someone that has a pedal board. You use the pedal board, and when you travel and you continue, you meet someone that is sailing, and you will sail with him. You don't need to you own everything. You can also you give back services, educate people about Bitcoin, and in return borrow and it works both ways. Not only when Bitcoin goes down, it also works when Bitcoin goes up. When Bitcoin was 70K, I'm not buying a Lamborghini. I'm not flying private jet airplanes while I could. Why? For what? Is,
yep,
is the happiness really in that? Or is the happiness in achieving that by being invited by a huge conference that wants to pay that shit for you? That makes me way more happy because that confirms the talent that I have to be asked to come somewhere and they pay for you. That's the game that you need to play. Why would you need to pay for everything yourself?
yeah,
Just be yourself, live life to the fullest, and show the world what you have to contribute, and change the world. And then all those things will come in the end.
yeah.
Maybe it sounds very arrogant, but it's my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the literal way of getting out of the rat race, as you just said. You're not depending on anything that you own, or you don't have to be paying for your own assets. Let's say you don't have a house, you don't have a car, but you don't have to pay the bank for that. And if you need something, you can always rent it, and you create this cash flow system of yourself, where your family is a brand that people would want to still pay you money for going to conferences and listening you out. And yeah, that creates your own cash flow system that perpetuates. It gives you the ability to live your life without thinking of taking profits from your Bitcoin portfolio.
No, because I believe that when people do good for the world, that should be their economic model.
Yeah,
That it should that should be make them make profit. And aside of that, for me, if you look at the future, and I always look at the future as a let's say visionary, um, then the only future that I can see is a decentralized one. So for me, at the moment, seeing what happened the last 2 years, I can only say flexibility is my new stability. And where we were taught to be having a stable place,
yeah,
a house, a garden, a dog, chickens, a goat, two kids, six autos, cars, and that should have been stability. That is for me prison.
yeah,
Flexibility, to being able to take my 5 backpacks, my 3 ledgers, fly away to another country where I don't need to wear a face mask or where I don't need to get vaccinated. That is freedom for me.
yeah.
That is life. That gives me a very stable feeling to be able to take my full capital, move to somewhere, and just start life over there.
Yep.
I don't need to ask a bank. I don't need to ask a government. I don't need to ask anyone for permission to get some euros or not freeze my account, please. You
Yeah.
just go. And that flexibility gives me a very stable feeling. And that's why I think Bitcoin and blockchain are the perfect tools to create a very decentralized way of lifestyle where the lending economy, sharing economy creates that new stability by being flexible, not owning stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we choose for.
And going into the other segment, which is purpose. What's your purpose in crypto? What are you trying to accomplish in this ecosystem? If there's a if there's like a kind of just one sentence things that you're trying to do here in the ecosystem.
The problem is that I'm 44. I'm unplanned. I'm unstructured. That's also why I forgot the interview a few times. Again, apologies for that.
And don't worry.
Um, it's I don't want to make too many plans for the future because I want to live life today and I want to live life to the fullest. And at the moment, the passion for me is to make people understand the Bitcoin message, the freedom that it will give them, by having Bitcoin and being able to do stuff. And that's why some things come on your path. And now there's a Bitcoin bar, and then it's this, and then it's that. If I think my role in this whole industry is maybe to show the two becoming materialistic industry, that the core value is not in owning those Lamborghinis
Yeah.
or doing that rich stuff, but build a school in Mexico, build an orphanage in Venezuela. You save the lives of thousands of people.
Yep.
You change the life of thousands of people. That is where happiness comes from. But I'm 44 and I just started to understand that message. When I was 26, 24, like most of the influencers, I was running for the $1 million dream as well. In the end, you will find that it's not leading to the happiness that you're searching for. It's leading to short-term happiness, and you need to, make long-term happiness. And I think that maybe is the Bitcoin family brand a little bit to show that life could be about more than just only accumulating wealth, but also sharing wealth.
Yep. And if you have, what would be that final vision you have of the future of Bitcoin and crypto? How much time do you think will pass before we can live that vision?
So that's the biggest issue I have with most people. Um, People always say, "How much time will we have to reach that vision?" Am I not showing with a family of five that we already traveled 5 years bankless? We are already
Yeah.
living the future, but people need to get some steel balls and grab life by that balls and start to just live and say fuck you to the centralized institutions. People still think that they are dependent on banks and on governments and on all the. It is not. It's a lie. I don't have bank accounts. My kids don't have bank accounts. We live a beautiful life and we manage to pay with Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, or exchange to cash and pay with cash all over the world at the moment. So to still think that you are supporting Bitcoin by owning still a bank account, that's the most stupid thing I have ever heard because you know, people sometimes call me a shitcoiner because I talk about Ethereum or Litecoin. There's only one shitcoiner on this whole planet, and that's people with a bank account, because then you have euros or dollars. That is the biggest shitcoin in the world. It has no tokenomics. It's printed out of thin air. There's nothing backing it up. That's a shitcoiner. So all those people that are in Bitcoin with a bank account, look in the mirror. Can you really say you're a Bitcoiner? No, you're a shitcoiner. You have euros and dollars. Um, so for me, if I look at the future, I think that it will become easier so that the people that still live a little bit fearful in this industry also become real Bitcoiners and support the real Bitcoin industry. People need to see it very simple. You have fiat, you have cryptocurrencies. The more you take out of this system into that system, the more the way scale will go like this. At the end, we will take over. That is what we are doing. This is the biggest social economic revolution that we have ever seen in humanity. And we should support it all to the fullest because that will make the future for my kids, your kids, every other kids a beautiful one, a non enslaved one, but a freedom one, a decentralized one, and not want to they want to fear every day for everything what they buy. Like you just read in the Netherlands, they're gonna track every payment that's over 100 euros is going to be put in a database in the Netherlands and it's going to be controlled.
Wow.
Like, how the fuck can you still have a bank account in euros if you read that in the news? For me, the future is going to be decentralized. For me and my family, definitely. And I hope for the rest of the world as well. And I hope that they just see the light on time because they all see what is happening. And they tested it many times. They showed it in Greece that they can freeze a bank account. They showed now in Canada that they can freeze a GoFundMe or GoFuckMe, however you want to know they call them, when they wanted to support the Canadian truckers. You can see what happened in Ukraine, Russia, freezing bank accounts. Why would you think your money is safe there?
Yeah.
Like these are the last couple of years that you can exchange your cash into Bitcoin because I think in most Western countries, cash will slowly disappear. And the only way that you'll be able to buy Bitcoin in the future is by KYC verified, custodial service company that sell you Bitcoin, and then they will be traceable. Now you can go to the ATM, withdraw your cash, buy OTC in a peer-to-peer network or whatever you want, and you hold your Bitcoins in a ledger completely off the market. I think that is what more people should do. And then you get into what is the header of my Twitter account, and they can only control you because you use their currency. If we collectively stop using the euro and the fiat, stop using their currency, you take away their power, because the only power they have is money.
Yeah.
And with that money, they create fear everywhere. So take it away. Support this social, economic, beautiful, peaceful revolution of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and create what we already are creating, a beautiful new monetary system that we, the mass of the people between 20 and 40, support. And that's how we create a better future for our kids. So yes, I'm talking too much. Sorry for that.
No, don't worry. It's a fair point what you make there, and I think that responding to the question of how long do we have to reach that vision, you already said it. We are there, and for it to become even better, is it that we start even accepting Bitcoin as payments for, I don't know, our own salaries or payments about services and products, and in that way you can start paying for it. You will be receiving it. You don't change it for that shitcoin fiat system money, and there we can
You can
start
even you
seeing.
can even yeah, you can even force it. Why would you still want to work for a job that doesn't pay you in Bitcoin?
Yeah,
That would be the same that you would choose to work for a job that you really don't like and that does really strange and awful stuff, like, for example, trading drugs or weapons, and you still keep working because you need the money. You switch job then as well. This industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There is like a shitload of jobs that you can do for cryptocurrency companies and be paid in cryptocurrencies. It's just we need to switch. We need to switch the mindset of
yeah,
fear to, wow, this is going to be the new monetary system. Let's just accept it. And yes, you can buy a beer. You can go for a massage already with Bitcoin. You can book your flights with Bitcoin. You book hotels with Bitcoin. You can buy cars all over the world. You can do so many stuff already with Bitcoin.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I
It,
don't know what to say more. For me, it's like it's so obvious to me, and I just find it very difficult to understand that not everybody sees it that clear.
Well, yeah, maybe let's do some couple of questions around the living with Bitcoin, and it could be clear for people. And in your experience, which countries are the most Bitcoin or crypto friendly, and why? For example,
So at the moment, I must say Slovenia is very crypto friendly. We visit, for example, the capital, Ljubljana. I
Ljubljana.
think there's more than 400 shops accepting Bitcoin.
Nice.
You know, it's supermarkets, it's cinemas, it's grocery stores. It's like everything except Bitcoin there. Like already, we visited already 4 years ago. So then at that moment there was mass adoption. So I think it became even bigger. Portugal is slowly catching up. You know, there's more and more stores are accepting Bitcoin here as well. Portugal, you can buy houses now with Bitcoin. You can buy cars with Bitcoin.
Nice.
You can go to a beach bar and pay with Bitcoin. You go to the sailing club, pay with Bitcoin. So it's catching on in Portugal. I think it's very positive. I think Switzerland always has been very positive to Bitcoin. The moments I was in Thailand, I think it was also very beautiful because there's always a bar that will wanted to accept Bitcoin, you know, and you just need to go to that bar. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's not as convenient yet as using Thai baht or euros or dollars because maybe you need to try 2 minutes longer. But then again, you support a huge industry and you show other bars, shit, we should accept Bitcoin as well, you know. So these are the countries I love. Mexico is full Bitcoin. It's a lot of adoption over there. So it's more the Asian, South American countries and the European ones that don't feel Europe that accept where the adoption of Bitcoin is big.
And what about the countries that are the worst for a family that spends on Bitcoin? Uh, Within your travels, have you found some countries that you say, I'm never going to come back because it is a disaster to live with Bitcoin in here?
No, we you know we visited 43 countries in the last couple of years, and we never ran into a company where we couldn't pay with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin community is huge. There's always someone that's willing to do an OTC deal, or there's always battery fill coupons that you buy online that you can spend
Yeah.
at the McDonald's or the Pizza Hut. You know, there's like multiple ways of living the Bitcoin standard,
So
as I
there's
call it
always
as
a
well.
way.
There is always a way. It's not the easiest way, but then again, And I don't have anything else to do, so that makes your life also an adventure to find those places, make a video about
Yeah.
it, and share it again with the world. It's just how you see it. People see it as, that's too much work. Yeah, maybe it should be fun to do something else and every day the same thing. It depends on how you live and how you look at life.
All right. And how is it that you actually yeah, you just said, for example, you find ways to, let's say, find someone that would be willing to change or trade via OTC, or
Yeah.
or stores that will accept bitcoins. Um, what about the your Bitcoin portfolio itself? It's just sitting there. It's just like a bed of value, store value, or are you also profiting from that own portfolio, or are you taking profits,
So
or
I
maybe putting
no,
it in the decentralized liquidity protocols and things like that?
yeah, so we do a lot of stuff, but we have this golden 70-30 rule. Like 70% is always in cold storage, hardware wallets. I can't touch them. I need to fly, I think, 2 hours to be able even to reach one of those locations. Um, and 30% of our capital we play with. I trade, I use algorithmic trading as well. I do investments in startups. There is a shitload of funny stuff that you can do with your capital, and that's also directly the main focus of the family and the main focus of educating my children. You should learn to manage capital, and you should learn how to have that capital work for you, so that you don't need to work and you can just enjoy life.
Yeah,
And that's what it's all about. In this new monetary system, um, created mainly, in my opinion, by Bitcoin, there is a phrase that everybody uses, and that phrase, people speak it, but they don't understand it. The phrase is, be your own bank.
yeah,
And being your own bank, everybody finds it, it's cool to say it. Go and understand what it means.
yeah, and try
You
to build
can
it.
be your own bank. You can do everything else that all the banks always did yourself. You can get interest without having investment in the bank. You can create a return on investment yourself by staking or whatever option you take, but you're your own bank. You can do all that stuff
Yeah,
that they were supposed to do for you, but they never did. And that's why you never had return on investment, or only 6% a year. So my algorithm trades at the moment with 3.5% per month. So only that algorithm already makes me 45 to 50% yearly. Like if you have 100K in that algorithm, it makes you 50K a year. With 50K you can live in so many countries. It's like not that difficult.
no, it's not.
I know it's difficult to get to the first 100K, and that's another story, of course. But if you have capital, then you should be your own bank and protect your own capital, and
Yeah,
increase it by using all the technology that's being built in CFI, DeFi, NFT world, everything.
I was reading about the DD BAM classic indicator, but I think
Yeah.
this is a perfect moment for you to talk about it yourself. What is it about?
Yeah, I prefer not to shield my own products on shows, but so what I did, I created an indicator together with an Englishman, and this indicator, I saw so many people trading, but just losing,
Yeah,
because people don't realize the youth look at YouTube videos of people. Yeah, you can buy this and this, and it goes up and goes
the
down, and they
signals,
buy a Lamborghini. Huh?
the famous signals.
Those signals,
Yeah,
and at the end they don't learn trading and they all lose. So to learn to trade, it will take a lot of years. So at a certain moment, I thought that if we create an indicator that just helps them to even be able to compete with the pros in this industry, because people think that they step into an industry with non-pro traders, but like it's a shitload of funds trading and everything. These people have doing this for their living for a long time.
yeah.
It's like I'm going to play football tomorrow and I will start to play against Barcelona. You won't win one game to Barcelona, against it. You need to have help, and I thought, let's create a tool that can help people to better judge when there is a bottom, or better judge when there is a top to sell. And that's what the Bam Bam indicator was, out of request of the community. That's why we built it. Yeah, we've been doing it now for 3 years with that indicator almost, and it's doing really well. We even have a few free indicators, and we have like a simple indicator version as well, so the cheaper ones because we sell them. That's also, of course, how we earn some extra bitcoins. So yeah, it's a cool product, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, and I saw that you sell it for Bitcoin. You're not selling it for the shitcoin fiat. Like I went.
No. There is nothing you can pay with fiat. There's nothing what you can pay with fiat other place.
Oh,
No.
that's awesome.
The only where you can spend your fiat is in our beach bar. It's a Bitcoin beach bar. That is where you spend your fiat, and I will convert those euros into bitcoins very quickly after.
Oh, that's awesome. What about your family now? Is every member of your family is an avid Bitcoin or crypto user?
Yeah, they are like the kids. Their allowance is paid in Bitcoin. Their presents or their gifts are always paid in Bitcoin. So my kids also don't have bank accounts. I must not lie. They by now they have a Revolut card
Revolut, yeah.
because the grandparents gave them a Revolut account, and that is where they can, because the grandparents are not all in Bitcoin. They send euros, and on Revolut the kids are able to buy Bitcoins with those euros. So they do have a bank account, um, because Revolut is the only one that supports Bitcoin buying and selling. And the rest, we live solely on cryptocurrencies, and in some countries also cash when it's needed. And mostly when they want to spend something that we can't pay with cash or crypto, they use my one of the Bitcoin debit cards that we have.
All right.
Yeah.
And are they also working on their own crypto projects too? I don't know, your wife or your
My
kids?
oldest one starts to become Jolie is now 17 years old. The first 4 or 5 years of our trip, they were kids. We
Yeah.
didn't want to involve them into work. Um, and Bitcoin was not that cool at that moment. It was just Bitcoin. It was like for nerds.
Yeah.
And now that Cardi B is talking about Bitcoin, or that like Snoop Dogg or Eminem is making video clips with Bitcoin, they're like, "Oh shit, Bitcoin is really cool, guys. You were really an early adopter, yeah, but you too, because you are my kids. You're saving funds in Bitcoin." And now she is 17 and she wants to start some social media, educate herself a little bit more about Bitcoin and just see if there is a digital nomad work way for her as well, because she can never have a job, as we always stay only 3 4 months at a place. So yeah, she's kind of forced living in this digital decentralized nomad life where she also needs to make sure she has an income.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
cool.
the other two, they are still too young. They're just kids and having fun, and
Yeah.
we don't want them to think too much about the future.
Yeah. Makes sense. And maybe this is a gruesome question, but if something happens to you, Didi, is your family prepared to take over your private keys?
Yeah,
They are.
everything is. We have covered that issue in multiple multi-sig ways. So without me, they can just continue. I don't think they will do as much as social media that I do. I think they will then go live long time happy ever in a beautiful house somewhere. The one that wants to travel the most is me, and the family still wants to join it, but we can also feel now that the kids are becoming older, if 17, 15, 12, that they want to try and create a little bit more social connections. So that's why we slow travel nowadays. We only stay a couple of months everywhere. We don't go week by week by
Yeah.
week. Um, so yeah, let's see where the future goes. It's really beautiful to see. We There's a documentary maker that has been filming us now for 2 years. They're going to film us another couple of months, and then next year there will be a documentary about our life, our family, on the biggest streaming platform of the world. I can't say the name; that would break my contract. Um, and there will be shown how did we do this? How were you able to live bankless? How were you able to educate your children? And made it did it lead to happiness? Did it lead to non-happiness? Did it lead to problems with your family because of living as a nomad? Or so that's the emotional roller coaster has never been about Bitcoin, but traveling with three puber girls and a wife and a dog that I think is also almost a girl that that has more emotional roller coaster in there.
Yeah. And I mean, in my case, I moved from my capital city where I was born. I'm now living in Punta Cana, right there by the beach. And I've always have this idea of going totally nomad. And this is like the for me it's like a practice. I'm going away from my family and see how it goes. But of course, there are little things that you have to do, and it takes time for you to go from normal traditional living into nomad living. And one of the things is all the stuff that you own. Like my house is full of stuff, and, and you have to have a place for those stuff. So if we want to practice, for example, and go away 3 months, 4 months, nomad living, we still have to pay rent here because we have to have a place for all stuff. And
Yeah.
so you have to go and mentally think: is this all of this stuff necessary? Do I need a couch? Do I need a TV? Do I need a wherever I'm gonna be, there is gonna be one, and
Yeah.
maybe I don't need it for myself. I don't need to own it. And yeah, I think our conversation right now, has hit me again. Like, hey, what are you doing? You were planning to go all nomad, and but you have stayed here because of a couch. So
It's
yeah,
yeah. That's that.
we have to
I
rethink
think
things again and go back to our original goals as a couple, me and my wife, to see if we can do this, because yeah, it's not going to
I
work
can
with a
completely
couch.
relate to your story. And that's why I keep saying flexibility is the new stability.
Yeah,
And my brother and sister were having this same issue you have for years. And finally, now after 5 years of talking, they went all in. Just sold
nice.
their house in the Netherlands, and they're starting this life. And my brother is now already 2 months on his way. My sister sold her house today, so she's leaving the Netherlands the 4th of November. Um, but they both told me exactly the same after cleaning up their house. They are like, "Do you know how much stuff we own that we just don't use, don't see, don't
Yeah.
touch? It's just an." And they were feeling so light now by not owning all that stuff anymore.
Hmm.
They're like, "This feels amazing. We don't need to think about anything. It's like perfect." And that's the feeling that I agree with. There was always this shitload in my house that nobody never used. That was just there, filling up empty space that I never used. And now, whatever we need, we use it. And sometimes we buy stuff, and then when we don't need it, we give it to an orphanage or whatever. The kids, they donate their toys then. And that's how you stay light, and you keep sharing and caring for other people as well, because
Yeah,
they might need that help. And because our capital keeps working and we stay in Bitcoin, we don't have any issues with inflation like the rest of the world. For us, life is becoming cheaper every year. Like, yes, we
it
have
is.
some more expensive years. Yes, we have some more cheap years. But in average,
In
life
average, it's cheaper.
buys
Yeah.
me more for one Bitcoin every year and less for a euro every year. Um, so yeah, for me, these are the tools that will make it possible to decentralize the world, to make the gap between poor and rich smaller, because what we now see, because of inflation and everything, is becoming even bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
which will lead to wars and whatever. And I think Bitcoin and blockchain are the tools to save that gap and bring it back. The moment we as humanity understand that we are all living on this beautiful world together, and we should do our best to help people that are in need. And that's also what I say on my when I speak. It's like people need to understand that the Fed, or the Central Bank of Europe, they're printing a shitload of money out of thin air
Yeah.
to save an economy. You need to ask yourself now,
Safe.
why don't they print the same type of money out of thin air to feed children in Africa? They can just create money.
Yeah.
Why would these people need to suffer and poor them if we can just print it? You print it as well to create inflation and to save the economy, the rich people. Maybe should turn around. And I think that Bitcoin and blockchain could turn it around. I think we could turn it around as community.
Yep. Well, Didi, this was all for me. I right now I am anxious to drop the call and go to my wife and start talking to her about our nomad plans again. So
Oh, sorry.
no, no, dude, like this is amazing. Like I'm feeling hyped. Like I really want to reconnect with that moment in my life when I was like, we need to do this, right? Maybe I lost it in the ways of having to work on our 8 to 5 and living yeah, the day to day. But we need to think, we need to plan this, and we need to accomplish this as soon as possible, because this is great. The way that you're living and the way that you are also promoting your lifestyle is the way of the future. And I think this is the way of real freedom, as you said. Uh, and in my case, I want that,
That
and I want it for my uh, dear friends and family too, right?
Yeah. And the only way to show them is by leading by example. And that is what we do for the kids and you do
Exactly,
for your friends. And that's what we need to do. Lead by
exactly.
example, and then we all become one and we have a beautiful future together.
Yes, it is. Well, Didi, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. This has been awesome, and let's stay in touch, right?
Thank you for having me on the show, and I wish you a beautiful conversation with your wife. Do give her a drink first.
I will, and then I will show you, and then I will show her this podcast and all the other podcasts. Yeah,
All good.
I'm gonna convert her.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Ciao. Have a good one.
Have a good one, Zaid. Ciao.